expert from Mr. Foamer.
All right, so we're here with Jason Baright from G&G, and we're really happy to have you here with us. Unfortunately, we're not in San Antonio. We wish we were. I hope everybody's safe up there in New York, and everybody out here. We're going to have a little fun, and I don't get a lot of time. We've worked together for probably 5 years now, and it's going to be fun to kind of spend a few minutes and ask you some questions that we get asked a lot. And instead of us just, sometimes making up answers on the fly, we're going to go right to the experts, So, Jason, thank you so much for joining us here for the virtual trade show and taking some of your free time.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Jim. Looking forward to it.
All right, so let's kick it off. One of the things we get a lot of questions on when it comes to lighting is, it's kind of a silly question, but I think it's a super important question. In your opinion, why is lighting so important in today's, car washing marketplace? What's your thoughts on why we should be doing this?
Yeah, well, it's not surprising, and a lot of times lighting gets taken for granted, especially back a couple years ago, right? It was one of the last pieces of the puzzle that owners typically thought of when they were building a new site. Oh, I need to put in lighting. This day and age, lighting can make such an impact in your car wash that it's one of the best tools and one of the best things you can do with a very quick return on investment. So just for example, it can be a great marketing tool for your customers. You can really create that wow effect. In fact, so we had a customer of ours. They were addressing a large group of industry veterans. They said that it was the single most impactful thing that they did that year as an organization for the customer experience. Yeah, was to upgrade. They upgraded their whole tunnel with about 8 of their arches and put lighting on it. And that was the single most impactful thing they did. Comment card after comment card from the customers were mentioning that lighting, what they did there.
That's crazy. I mean, you really think about it, you try so hard from your dispensing to having the best equipment, the best layout. And it's we found that too over the years where it's like some of the simplest things, you think, oh, I just put a light up. And from the customer's perspective, the end customer user, they feel like they're getting a completely different experience.
Sure.
That's great. What's your thoughts on, I get a lot of questions as far as the expense, putting all these lights in and it is a big expense, and to do it right. And, some of the other questions I have for you will kind of dig into that down the road. But, what's your thoughts on that? We do get some guys that, either an older site, maybe they're getting ready to upgrade it. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to spend so much money on lighting. What's your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think overall, it's a relatively low investment of time and money for the amount of impact that it can make and how fast it can make it. So,
Gotcha.
You can spend a couple grand, you can spend half a day putting it up, maybe even less than that, and it can immediately, your customer goes through and, whoa, they did something new here. And you can highlight a new service that you put in, highlight an existing service, maybe charge more for that service. So the customers know they're getting it. So
gotcha.
Overall, it's a pretty quick and easy way to make a really big impact.
Awesome. I completely agree. Absolutely. It's for, for us and working with so many clients, it's been, an incredible marketing tool to see those guys, take advantage of that. So, one thing we also get a lot of questions about are, the different types of lights, there's, and especially nowadays, we're seeing more and more of, from Amazon to this one to that, tell me a little bit about, you've been in the lighting game, forever. Tell me a little bit about the different types of lights.
Yes. So we've been doing it for 10 years exactly.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So I've known you for most of those. So we've gotten really good at making lights, especially for this particular application. So there's 3 applications that we focus on now. So the overhead lighting, so in your tunnel or in your in-bay or in your self-serve bays, we'll manufacture what we call ambient lighting, the white lights that go in the ceiling. And they can be color now too. Then we'll have the arch lights. So you'll mount these on your arches, either on the top or on the top and the sides. And then the third type would be usually out near your vacuum area. So you can bend the lights and put them on your backs. Those are the main 3 types. So ambient, tunnel lighting, the arch lighting, and then the outdoor back arch.
Awesome. So what are some of the things you need to consider when you're buying? We've heard a lot, and lately we're seeing it in some of the online forums, some of the other things when it comes to warranties and UL and saving money now, and it really doesn't matter because you can just replace them because they're
Sure.
cheap. Kind of run me through, some things that our viewers should be considering when it's time, to go out and look for new lighting, or they're looking to do the upgrade, or even take something they've had before and take it to the next level.
Yeah, great question. And I would say if someone was thinking they need to replace them because they're cheap, they're probably not using the same fixture if they need to replace it often.
Sure.
So I guess there's like 3 must-haves when you're looking at lighting, at least in my opinion. Those 3, the first one would be that it was designed specifically for car wash. And I can kind of get into why. There's a lot of very unique things about a car wash that make it a really tough environment for lighting. The second would be UL, and we could talk about that a little bit if you want. And the third would be that it comes with a strong warranty.
Okay.
And I've got some opinions on that. I mean, design for car wash, like what do we mean by that? How come I can't use just an off-the-shelf light and just put it into a car wash? So specifically the chemicals, specifically pre-soaks. So your pre-soaks, they have sodium hydroxide is one of the more harsh chemicals when it comes to plastics. So your in-bay automatics use some really aggressive pre-soaks, but even all the tunnels, they're going to use some aggressive pre-soaks to start kind of grinding into that grit. And traditional plastics, polycarbonate, acrylic, those plastics break down when they get exposed to pre-soak chemicals. So just for example, your plastic latches on your Vaporite, they start crazing or cracking or falling off. Maybe around, if it had a plastic lens where there was a screw that was putting a lot of pressure on the lens, you'd start to see cracking around it, and then water would get in. So I'll just personally, back 10 years ago, we thought it was okay to use polycarbonates, acrylic, and fixtures. We learned the hard way. We couldn't. So now we use a really unique polymer. It's called copolyester. It's the same plastic that they make Nalgene bottles out of. So it's made to go in the dishwasher.
Oh, wow.
It's extremely chemically resistant. So just to make sure that it's made for a car wash facility, because that kind of leads into the strong warranty aspect.
Right.
So why we think the strong warranty, right? So the warranty is almost, goes hand in hand with how much trust the manufacturer has in how long it's going to last in your wash. Yeah. So if you see, a 2, 3, 4 year warranty, they're saying, okay, yeah, there's pretty good odds. They think that the product is going to last that long in a car wash.
Right. Absolutely. Tell us a little about UL. I think UL is kind of that magical unicorn that everybody talks about, but doesn't quite understand the benefits and why and what's so important about it.
Well, the one thing UL does, which isn't so much as a benefit as it's a requirement, is if it's not UL, it does not meet the NEC or the National Electrical Code. So the electrical code is very clear, and all electricians and certainly electrical inspectors know how to read it. But it states that a luminaire that is installed must have UL. So every electrical appliance that gets installed in a commercial building, it needs to have that UL sticker on there. Otherwise, the product after it's installed does not meet electrical code. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many customers we've had call us in a panic because they've had to delay their opening because the electrical inspector won't give them a CO because he found product that didn't have the UL sticker on it. So that's obviously the most detrimental effect, is that if an inspector comes in and doesn't have UL, he won't pass it, right? You might be able to get away with it on, say, a retrofit, but then you really shouldn't, because there's 2 things that UL does. So they're an independent third-party laboratory. They're nationally recognized. They test for 2 things. That's all they care about. They're not testing for reliability. They're not telling you it's a good product. They're telling you, A, it won't start a fire, and they're telling you, B, it won't electrically shock somebody that grabs it.
Got it.
So
that's
all they care about. So they're promising when they put that sticker on it, it's not going to start a fire and burn your car wash down. And if it does burn down because of the light, you're going to get insurance money because it had UL.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Or if you mount it to your stainless steel arch, they are promising that it's not going to shock someone that grabs that arch. So that's what that sticker does.
but it's just so important. It's not just about getting your doors open. It's about protecting your staff too, and then, and I'm glad to hear that from you. So that's very educational. I appreciate that. So a couple other things that we had some people reach out, went through some questions. We had a lot of things about IP rating, the quality of components. We have a lot of people say, well, you guys are made in the USA, you're assembled here. Why does that matter? And then, one other really big one that always comes up is watts. And to be honest, we fell into that in the past too, where it was like, I've got 400 watts and, and I've got 350 or 200 of that. And, so if you could kind of break down, and take it one by one and just kind of roll through, the IP rating, why is it important? Watts versus lumens, and some of the other things that you really think our viewers should look for when they're out shopping and going to look for new LED lighting.
Yeah, you got it. So I'll start with the IP rating. That's a good one. So IP, it's an ingress protection rating. So that is a rating. It goes from IP60, which basically means so that there's two parts of it, the first digit and the last digit. The first digit is its ingress protection against dirt. So that's 6. It means it's totally sealed against dirt. And there's a next digit. So it would be IP61, 62, 63, 64. Those are all incremental steps of waterproof ratings. So IP60, you can't take any water, it'll go right in. IP61, maybe just some raindrops, 62, 63, 64, goes all the way up to IP68. And then for pressure spray, IP69 and even K. So it's basically a rating from 0 to 9. And those are universally known methods to say exactly how waterproof something is. Okay. So IP67 is water spray. So that's really would be the bare minimum of something that you'd want to see. IP68 means it's submersible.
The other part to me was, and I got lost, like I said earlier, I got lost in it too, is the watts versus lumens. Kind of give us some better understanding of that, because it really does feel like I don't understand. I mean, I get it. Lumens are more important than watts, but if you can give us some, information on that, that'd be awesome.
Sure. I'm an electrical engineer, so this is we could stay here all day if you want, but.
All right. Well, not all day, but let's go to like the guy that, the normal guy like me that just goes, all right, make me understand this.
Sure. So it's all about lumens per watt. Okay. So just because it has a whole bunch of watts, that's not necessarily a good thing, because the LEDs could be, if they're of lower quality, they could use a lot of energy but still not put out much light. So there's some schools of thought. So United States makes some really high quality diodes. You can find high quality ones. Germany, Osram makes some really good diodes. China, there are some, but it's kind of hit or miss. It's very easy to make a low cost light fixture that uses a lot of watts, but that does not put out nearly as much light as you would think it would when you see how many watts it's consuming.
Gotcha.
So, and unfortunately, in the color lighting space, there are no really good standards. So like white lighting, it's lumens per watt. That does not apply when you start, that's white lumens. Okay. So when you start going into color, you can't use that same lumens per watt, because the lumen of green and red and blue are all different than white. So what you can do is just make sure that you're getting a quality product.
Okay.
So a quality product can use a high quality emitter. And if you don't drive the LEDs too hard, they're very efficient. You keep them cool, they're very efficient. So just because it has a lower wattage, say 100 watts, 200 watts, if you're using high quality diodes, putting enough of them down, you can get a ton of lumens. So, a 200 watt fixture that uses really good diodes and lots of them and manages the heat well will put out more light than a 400 watt fixture that uses cheap diodes that are getting driven really hard. So
if you can kind of expand a little bit on the importance of, being assembled and manufactured here in the United States. I've had personal experience by dealing with some, out of the country vendors, but, tell me a little bit about, why is it important for that?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me, I would say would just be the engineering that goes into it. I'm not aware of offshore companies that focus specifically on making a fixture that's going to go into a car wash. So they may have some waterproof fixtures, some wall washers. You know, they could be large, bulky, probably using glass. It's just they weren't designed ground up for this specific application. So
Gotcha.
it's not so much where it's made, that's some of it, but making sure that it was designed specifically for a car wash. If it's made in the U.S., it very likely uses components that you'd be able to find here. And it's actually very, very hard in the States to buy Chinese diodes and bring them in. Like electrical distribution around here, you can't really buy those. So if it was made in the States, there's a very good chance that it has the high quality diodes that you might have heard of, like Cree LEDs or Osram LEDs. Those are diodes that you'd be able to source in the States. So if it's made here, there's a very, very good chance that it uses higher quality diodes inside of it.
Excellent. So one of the other things, and we're kind of getting to the end of our time frame here, but you know, ease of mounting. You know, I've been all over this country and actually in Europe and some other areas, and to me, it's been kind of crazy to see some of these units out there. And we sold them, and we've sold some of the large ones. But tell me a little bit about how it's so important for ease of mounting and the ability to put them in different areas.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess especially when you're mounting them on arches, you're mounting them on vacuum arches, you're mounting them even on the ceiling. The smaller, the more lightweight, the better.
Gotcha.
You don't need to, you know, it's easier to put up. It's less stress on all the mounting hardware. You can get them up there. You can tuck them just behind an arch, or you can bend them and put them up onto an arch. Here, all we've ever known is LED, so we've never designed anything any larger than it needed to be. So we have 3 brand pillars: strong, simple, compact. So strong, simple, but compact. So we're just a big fan of making things as small as you can, and why not? As long as you can dissipate the heat, keep it cool, you might as well make it small. It makes it easier to put up, less stress in the equipment that it's on. So we're a big fan of making things as small as you can.
Got it. Well, you know, I think it's, you know, everybody's going to see some of the new innovations we're going to launch today. We're talking, you know, mostly it's about education. So we won't get into all the fun stuff that I know both you and I are chomping at the bit to talk about, but you guys will see that in the other videos. And we really appreciate you spending time with us. And, you know, you guys are still working hard. And I know you do a lot of other industries, even beyond car washing, which has been fantastic to hear about. And, you know, Jason, it's been a pleasure of ours to work with you and the team for, you know, since we started Mr. Foamer and then became part of the Sonny's family.